Something strange is happening to you. The things that used to excite you don't anymore. The people who used to fascinate you now bore you. The goals you were chasing suddenly feel meaningless. The life you were building no longer makes sense. You're losing interest in everything, and it terrifies you because society tells us that losing interest is a problem, a sign of depression, a symptom of giving up, evidence that something is wrong with you. But what if it's not? What if losing interest isn't the beginning of your decline, but the beginning of your awakening? What if your soul is rejecting what no longer serves you? What if your consciousness is shedding layers of programming? What if you're not losing interest, you're gaining clarity? There's a phase in every spiritual and psychological awakening that looks like disconnection, apathy, withdrawal. But beneath that surface level loss of interest is something profound happening. Your system is recalibrating, your values are shifting, your understanding of what matters is fundamentally transforming. Today, we're exploring why losing interest is often the first sign of awakening, and why what looks like the end is actually the beginning. When everything loses its appeal, it starts subtly. You're going through your normal routine, but something feels off. The job that was tolerable now feels suffocating. The social activities that filled your calendar now feel like obligations. The entertainment that used to distract you now feels empty. You try to force it, you show up, you go through the motions, you tell yourself it's just a phase, that you'll snap out of it, that you need to try harder to care. But you can't. The interest is gone. Not just diminished, gone. Like someone reached into your chest and removed the part of you that cared about these things. And this scares you. Because if you don't care about the things you're supposed to care about, who are you? If you lose interest in your own life, what's left? The collapse of artificial motivation. For years, you've been motivated by external things, the approval of others, the promise of success, the fear of failure, the pursuit of status, comfort, security. These motivations worked. They got you out of bed, they kept you moving, they gave your life structure and direction. But now suddenly they don't work anymore. The approval doesn't feel satisfying, the success feels hollow, the status feels meaningless. The external motivations that used to drive you have lost their power. This isn't because you're depressed. It's because you're seeing through them. Your consciousness is recognizing that these motivations were always artificial. They were never yours. They were installed. And now, in the early stages of awakening, they're being uninstalled. The void that appears when you lose interest in what used to motivate you, a void appears. A vast emptiness where meaning used to be. You look at your life and think, what's the point? You look at your goals and think, why does this matter? You look at your relationships and think, is this real? This void is terrifying because it feels like nothing, like emptiness, like the absence of everything that made life worth living. But here's what you don't realize yet. This void isn't empty. It's pregnant. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. It's the necessary destruction that precedes creation. The void isn't the problem, the void is the portal. You're seeing through illusions. Losing interest is your consciousness's way of telling you, this isn't real, this doesn't matter, this isn't aligned with your truth. You're starting to see through the illusions that keep most people engaged. The illusion that career success equals fulfillment. The illusion that accumulating things brings happiness. The illusion that busy means important. The illusion that popular means valuable. These illusions kept you interested because you believed them. Now you don't. And once you stop believing, you stop being interested. This isn't loss. This is clarity. Your vision is clearing. And yes, that means you can no longer see value in things that aren't actually valuable. But that's not a problem. That's progress. Your soul is rejecting what doesn't align. Think of interest as your soul's yes. When you're genuinely interested in something, it's because it resonates with your authentic self. It aligns with your truth. It serves your growth. When you lose interest, it's your soul's no. It's your deepest self rejecting what doesn't serve your evolution, what doesn't align with who you're becoming, what belongs to who you were, not who you are. Your ego might panic, your mind might resist, but your soul knows. And the loss of interest is its way of moving you away from paths that lead nowhere toward paths that lead somewhere real. You're being pulled toward something deeper. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you lose interest in the superficial, it's not so you can become interested in nothing. It's so you can become interested in something deeper. You're losing interest in entertainment so you can become interested in meaning. You're losing interest in achievement so you can become interested in purpose. You're losing interest in performance so you can become interested in authenticity. The disinterest is directional. It's moving you away from the shallow end of existence toward the deep end. And yes, that means leaving behind what you knew. But what you're moving toward is infinitely more valuable than what you're leaving behind. Your frequency is changing. Everything has a frequency. People, places, activities, goals, and you resonate with things that match your frequency. As you awaken, your frequency changes. It rises, it shifts, it becomes something different. The things you're losing interest in aren't wrong. They're just a different frequency than where you're vibrating now. You can't force yourself to be interested in a frequency you've outgrown any, more than you can force yourself to enjoy music that no longer resonates with you. Your disinterest is your system's way of telling you, we're not on this frequency anymore. We've changed, and we need to find what matches our new vibration. Stage 1. Confusion. At first, you're confused. You don't understand why things that used to matter don't anymore. You wonder if something's wrong with you. You try to force yourself back into caring. This stage is uncomfortable because you're between identities. The old you is dying, but the new you hasn't emerged yet. You're in the liminal space and it's disorienting. You ask yourself, am I depressed? Am I broken? Am I giving up? And the answer is no, you're transforming. But transformation in its early stages looks a lot like dissolution. Stage 2, resistance. Once you realize you're losing interest, you resist it. You fight it. You tell yourself you need to snap out of it. You force yourself to show up, to participate, to pretend you care. This resistance is exhausting because you're fighting against your own evolution. You're trying to stay interested in what your soul is rejecting. You're trying to be who you were when you're already becoming someone else. The resistance is understandable. Change is scary. The unknown is terrifying. But the resistance doesn't stop the process. It just makes it more painful. Stage 3, acceptance. Eventually, if you're lucky, you stop fighting. You accept that you've lost interest. You acknowledge that the old motivations don't work anymore. You surrender to the fact that you're changing. This acceptance brings relief. Not happiness yet, but relief. Because you're no longer at war with yourself. You're no longer trying to force interest that isn't there. You accept, I don't care about this anymore. And that's okay. I don't know what comes next. And that's okay too. Stage 4, the search. Once you accept the loss of interest, you enter the search phase. You start looking for what does interest you. What does resonate? What does align with who you're becoming? This is active. You experiment. You explore. You try new things. Expose yourself to new ideas. Connect with different people. You're seeking the new frequency, the new path, the new purpose. Some things still won't resonate. That's fine. You're calibrating. You're finding your new north. And each thing that doesn't interest you brings you closer to what will. Stage 5, rediscovery. Eventually, interest returns. But it's different. It's not the artificial, externally driven interest of before. It's genuine soul-level interest. Interest that comes from alignment rather than programming. You find yourself drawn to things you never would have considered before. Interested in depths you previously avoided, motivated by purposes that actually matter to you rather than purposes that were supposed to matter. This is awakening, not the loss of interest. That was just the beginning. The awakening is the rediscovery of authentic interest, of genuine purpose, of real meaning, superficial relationships. One of the first casualties of awakening is superficial relationships. The friendships based on convenience, history, or habit rather than genuine connection. You suddenly can't do small talk anymore, can't pretend to care about gossip, can't invest energy in relationships that stay surface level. This doesn't mean you don't care about people. It means you care too much to settle for fake connection. You'd rather be alone than pretend. You'd rather have depth or nothing. People will be hurt by this. They'll think you've changed. that you've become distant, that you're not fun anymore. They're right, you have changed. And their inability to go deeper with you reveals that the relationship was never as deep as you thought. Empty achievement career goals that once motivated you suddenly feel pointless. The promotions, the titles, the recognition, they lose their appeal, not because you're lazy or unmotivated, but because you're seeing through the illusion that external achievement creates internal fulfillment. You're recognizing that climbing someone else's ladder won't get you where your soul wants to go. This is terrifying if your identity has been built on achievement. If you've defined yourself by what you accomplish, losing interest in accomplishment feels like losing yourself. But you're not losing yourself, you're finding yourself. Beneath the achiever, beneath the performer, beneath the person trying to prove their worth, there's a you that already has worth, and that you is waking up. Distraction and numbing entertainment that used to soothe you now feels irritating. Social media that used to distract you now feels like a waste. Substances or behaviors that used to numb you now feel empty. You're losing interest in distraction because distraction was keeping you from yourself. It was helping you avoid the questions you needed to ask, the feelings you needed to feel, the truth you needed to face. Awakening removes your tolerance for avoidance. You can't numb anymore because there's something in you that needs to be felt. You can't distract anymore because there's something in you that needs attention. The loss of interest in distraction is uncomfortable because now you have to face yourself. But facing yourself is the whole point. The old version of success, you had a vision of success, a clear picture of what a good life looked like, house, car, family, career, status, whatever your particular version was. And now looking at that vision, you feel nothing. It doesn't excite you, it doesn't motivate you, it doesn't even make sense anymore. This is disorienting because that vision has been guiding you for years. It's been your North Star, and now it's gone dark. But it's gone dark because it was never your vision. It was the vision you were given, the vision you were told to want. The vision that was supposed to make you happy, your soul is rejecting because it knows that's not your happy, that's not your purpose, that's not your path. The in-between, there's a phase, sometimes brief, sometimes prolonged, where you've lost interest in the old, but haven't found interest in the new. You're suspended between worlds, interested in nothing. This is what spiritual traditions call the dark night of the soul, the void, the desert, the emptiness. It's dark because there's no light to guide you. You can't see where you're going. You can't even see where you are. Everything is formless, meaningless, void. This phase is necessary. You can't build a new identity while clutching the old one. You can't discover authentic purpose while still holding on to programmed purpose. You have to let go completely before you can receive something new. The temptation to go back in the dark night, you'll be tempted to go back, to force yourself to care about what you used to care about, to return to the old motivations, the old interests, the old life, even though they no longer fit. At least the old life made sense. At least you knew what you were doing. At least there was some sense of purpose, even if it was false. Going back is easy. Staying in the void is hard, but going back is also death. Not physical death, soul death, the death of the person you're becoming in favor of the person you've outgrown. If you go back, you'll have interest again, but it will be manufactured, forced, and you'll spend the rest of your life knowing you abandoned your awakening to return to comfort. The patience required, the dark night requires patience, the kind of patience that our instant gratification culture hasn't taught us. The patience to sit in not knowing, to trust the process, to wait for the emergence of what's next without forcing it. This patience is excruciating. Every part of you wants to do something, fix something, make something happen. But the dark night isn't about doing, it's about being. Being with the emptiness, being with the uncertainty, being with the loss. The interest will return, the purpose will emerge, the path will reveal itself. But only if you're patient enough to let it happen naturally rather than forcing a premature resolution. The transformation underneath, while you're experiencing the dark night as emptiness, something profound is happening underneath. You're being rebuilt from the ground up. Your values are being recalibrated. Your consciousness is expanding. Your identity is being restructured around truth rather than programming. Your entire system is upgrading. This work happens in the dark, in the void, in the space where old interest has died and new interest hasn't yet been born. Trust the process. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, everything is happening. The most important transformations occur invisibly, in silence, in the dark. The return of authentic interest, when interest returns, it's different. It's not manic or desperate. It's not driven by fear or need for validation. It's calm, clear, aligned. You find yourself genuinely interested in things, not because you should be, not because they'll lead somewhere, but because they resonate with who you actually are. Maybe it's creating something. Maybe it's helping people. Maybe it's learning for the sake of learning. Maybe it's building community. Maybe it's something entirely unexpected. Whatever it is, it feels right. Not in the forest, I'm trying to convince myself this is right way, but in the quiet, certain, this is aligned with my truth way. Purpose that feels like home you discover, or perhaps rediscover purpose. But it's not the grand, ego-driven purpose you used to seek. It's simpler, deeper, more authentic. It's not about being special or impressive. It's about being useful in a way that aligns with your nature. It's about contributing in a way that requires you to be fully yourself. This purpose doesn't exhaust you. It energizes you because it's not a performance. It's an expression. You're not trying to be something you're not. You're finally being what you are. A life built on truth. You start building a life around your authentic interests and purposes. Not the life you were told to build, the life that actually fits you. This life might look strange to others. It might not make sense to people who haven't awakened. It might not be impressive by conventional standards, but it's yours, genuinely, authentically, undeniably yours. And that makes it more valuable than any life built on someone else's blueprint. The continuous process, here's the final truth. Awakening isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous process. You'll lose interest again. You'll outgrow new things. You'll be called to let go of what you've just built. But now you know what it means. You know that losing interest isn't the end. It's the beginning of the next level. You know that the void isn't emptiness, it's transition. You know that what looks like loss is actually evolution. So when it happens again, you won't panic. You'll recognize it. You'll honor it. You'll trust it. Because you've learned losing interest is not a problem to fix. It's a message to honor. It's your soul saying, we're done here. It's time for something new. Trust me. If you're losing interest in everything right now, you're not broken. You're not depressed. You're not giving up. You're awakening. Your soul is rejecting what doesn't serve your evolution. Your consciousness is shedding layers of programming. Your system is recalibrating to a higher frequency. This loss of interest that terrifies you, it's not the beginning of your end, it's the beginning of your beginning, the real beginning, the authentic beginning. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's disorienting. Yes, there's a void to walk through. Yes, you'll be tempted to go back. But if you're brave enough to stay with the process, to honor the disinterest, to sit in the void, to wait for authentic interest to emerge, you'll discover something profound on the other side. You'll discover who you actually are beneath all the programming, what you actually want beneath all the shoulds, what actually matters beneath all the noise. You'll discover your truth, your purpose, your path. And once you find it, once you build your life around it, you'll look back on this period of losing interest and recognize it for what it was, not a crisis, but a chrysalis, not an ending, but a transformation. So lose interest, let it happen. Don't fight it. Don't force yourself to care about what no longer resonates. Trust that what you're losing interest in needs to be lost. Trust that what comes next will be worth the void. Trust that your soul knows what it's doing, even when your mind is confused. Losing interest is the first sign of awakening, and awakening, though difficult, is the most important thing you'll ever do. Welcome to your beginning. Thank you for watching Motivation Thrones. If you're losing interest in everything, you're not dying, you're being reborn. Share this with someone in the void who needs to know it's not the end. And remember, the death of false interest is the birth of authentic purpose. Trust the process.